Thank you and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday morning and the Public Works Standing Committee meeting. I will do a quick acknowledgement of who all's here. And we'll start with Bernie Pelletier, welcome. Bob Palmer, welcome. Chris Nelson, good to see you. Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd, hello and welcome. Ethan Van Ness, Catherine Devaney, good morning. John Phillips, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Rachel Virgin, good morning. Mr. Rick Bush, hello. Catherine Bruns, I'm sorry if I'm...
Bruns, thanks.
Bruns, okay. Kristen Brown, good morning. Mayor Cantor, good morning, Madam Mayor. And good morning to Town Manager Rick Ledwith. And it looks like we have possibly two that just joined. Tori McBrien, good morning. And I'm not sure who the other person is. So phone number. And so we will go ahead and get started for December 13th Public Works meeting. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. I now call this meeting to order, and we can go on to business items. That's second in the on the agenda there. And I'm going to need a little help with this because business items, what are we speaking of here, Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, and welcome to sharing your first Public Works Facilities and Sustainability Committee meeting. We look forward to supporting your leadership as we move forward. And we have a big crowd with us this morning. What we will do, Mr. Chair, is go past the business items and go right to communication. And under communications this morning, we have a letter from the Waste Working Group, which is a subcommittee of Sustainable West Hartford. And as our council may remember, Sustainable West Hartford was formed officially by ordinance this past September. And they had previously worked together under two separate commissions prior to that. And the council combined those two commissions into Sustainable West Hartford. And it should come as no surprise to any of us that this commission has quickly hit the ground running on several important issues, one of which is our combined mutual interest of finding a solution to our waste management crisis that our state is facing. This morning, representatives of the Waste Working Group Committee would like to talk a little bit about the work that they have been doing together over the last couple of months, some of which is summarized in their letter. And I think what I'll do at this point through you, Mr. Chair, is I think turn things over to Catherine Bruns. Is that the plan, Catherine? Or was it going to be Rachel and Bernie? You're on mute.
Yeah, I think we're going to jump right in and start with our guest today, which is the Waste Working Group. They have a short a great presentation to give. This is a wonderful group that's come together. I'm the staff liaison for them, but we're going to let them get start, and then I'll follow up and give a report later on under Public Works about the pilot program and what we've learned from this really valuable deep dive into trying something different.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. So I'll turn things over through you, Mr. Chair, to Rachel Virgin and Bernie Pelletier.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. Really excited to be here. Like Mr. Ledwith shared, we have come together as a group very quickly. There's some really tricky timing at play. I feel like we kind of just jumped into a really, really big issue, and we have worked really hard to bring ourselves up to speed and to try to wrap our arms around this. And we're really grateful to you and excited to present today. And I'm really hoping the technology piece of this goes well. I'm going to start by I'm just going to jump into the presentation. It is telling me that I need to be allowed to present. There we go. Let's try again. Perfect. If you'll bear with me just a second so that I can do this. Oh dear. If it doesn't work, we have a backup that Catherine Bruns can share. And why? Give me 10 seconds, please. It says that I have to grant access. Am I going to do that? Yeah. Catherine, do you mind queuing up the backup plan just in case I can't get this in the next few seconds?
Actually, Gerida, could you make it available so that we can present? Because I too says content sharing is unavailable.
Yes, so I gave Rachel the presenter rights.
Okay. Oh, I don't right now. I'm sorry, Rachel.
Catherine, Gerida, do you mind turning off my rights and turning on Catherine's?
Yes, I just switched it over to Catherine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll give you a second, Catherine. Thank you for being my trusty backup. If not, I can just talk through it, but I did prepare a nice.
Do you have them here?
There we go. Seeing that. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's good enough for me. Does that work for everyone else?
Mhm.
Thank you so much. All right. This is our report on the municipal solid waste situation in our town. We can go to the next slide. As Mr. Ledwith shared, we have formed ourselves quickly under the Sustainable West Hartford Commission. I am the chair. I'm Rachel Virgin. I've lived in town here for 23 years. I really love this town, and I like to share that, you know, we've been married here for 18 years and we've lived in the same zip code our entire marriage, first at a little tiny apartment on Arnold Way and then transitioning to a 2-family home, and then now owning our own home and raising our children here, all within the same zip code. I think that speaks to our unique, what we uniquely offer as a town. It's been a great place to live, and I'm really excited in this sort of new phase of life. I still have young children, but I'm excited to start to give back to a town that I feel strongly about. These are our wonderful cohorts. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. We have really discussed how we will see our work, especially around this issue. We've landed on these 3 lenses: economics, environment, and equity. We've given thought to your unique position as town leaders. You know, there's no such thing as pleasing everyone, and that's okay with me. But I think that as you try to bring people along and make choices that will impact everyone, at least from our standpoint, these are 3 good lenses through which to view this situation. We can all have our different things that we feel more strongly about, but this is what our group focuses on. We can go to the next slide. Thanks, Catherine. We find ourselves in a waste crisis. This is basic supply and demand. We are rapidly running out of supply in terms of space to store or dispose of our solid waste in the Northeast. No new landfills are really happening. You know, we're just bumping up into the reality of the fact that we've got to think about this differently. Right now, today, Connecticut is already shipping about 40% of its trash to other states' landfills, which personally is abhorrent on every level. And those, you know, even if we keep it here in our state, the impacts of incineration and landfill, as usual, fall overwhelmingly on low-income communities of color. You know, our neighbors to next door of us here, Hartford, they had that plant at Mira, the incineration plant, for so many years. The childhood asthma rate was 41%, highest in the nation. They closed that plant, and yet there is another one in Bridgeport still operational. I mean, we are all connected here. And, you know, we happen to be close neighbors with people who have borne the impacts of our usage of these services, which is something that our group feels strongly about. In West Hartford, our disposal costs are about to increase by 10 to 20%. But I will add that we're about to lose control of those costs going forward if we stay on the path that we're on, because again, supply and demand, you get less supply, the prices just do this. And Catherine can speak to that. She has some different charts for later on. We have this wonderful pilot program. It's so exciting. It's been so successful in the Morley neighborhood, but it's ending unless we decide to do something more with it. That's happening very soon, February 1st. And our group really doesn't want to take that successful program away from those residents. We'd in fact like to expand it. Next slide, please. So we have a crisis, but we do have solutions, and these are not new solutions. These have been well tested across the world and across the country. And these are the components: unit-based pricing. I'm going to go into more detail on the next slide. Food scrap collection, co-collection, curbside recycling. You know, our town recycling center has exciting plans for expansion and modernization. Direct billing is a different component we've considered, and extending the pilot. These are all things that my group has dug deep into, really tried to understand all this policy and all these models, and really give some careful consideration to what would work best, in our opinion, for West Hartford. Next slide. Okay, so this is where I'm going to park my focus for a few minutes. We shared that letter with you. This is sort of a visual condensation of that letter. It kind of brings that together. We recommend that you really consider unit-based pricing first and foremost. Trash is a utility. You know, I pay for my own water bill. I pay for my electric bill. I would never expect my neighbors to pay for my usage. And I personally don't love the thought of paying for other people's uses, though I'm comfortable to pay. Like, I homeschool, and I'm happy to support the public schools with my taxes anyway. But, you know, as far as utilities, it's really important and more equitable if we pay our own share based on our own usage. Use less, pay less. On that fourth bullet point, this is so powerful over and over and over across municipalities everywhere. I mean, it's a stunning transformation when you help a municipality make this transition to unit-based pricing, where people are paying for their own usage. That bit of behavioral psychology kicks in, and they think before they throw. And the natural result seems to be that suddenly the trash is reduced by 40 to 50%, which is staggering. It almost sounds too good to be true, but there's a lot of data behind that. And I, you know, in my background of education, I know the power of behavior and of psychology, and I'm not surprised. You know, as we consider this, it'll be, you know, between this town staff and this body to determine how to tailor this program in a way that is equitable and acceptable to West Hartford residents. That next bullet point talks about bag pricing. That is to be determined. I mean, there's flexibility there. That's what funds the program. Some municipalities have had quote unquote transition pricing, where they subsidize the cost to the residents of the designated bags for a while, Or some of them just give a bunch of free bags for a period of time. Or we could think about a town-wide pilot. I mean, these are whole discussions, each one of these that we can have, that you will have. But I just want to really call out the last bullet point in that UBP is not new and it's not scary. We spoke just 2 nights ago with Bob Moylan, who is the gentleman who pioneered this in Worcester 30 years ago. And the 2 days later, the thing that's still with me from that discussion is that Springfield next door has half the population as Worcester, and they make twice as much trash because they, have never embraced UBP. 155 municipalities in Massachusetts have embraced UBP, and the entire state of Minnesota is UBP mandated. This is successful. Just that half the population, twice the trash, just has stayed with me, and I would bring that to your mind. Food scrap diversion is a very important and popular piece of this. Food it's organic, it's smelly, but it's particularly heavy in our mix of waste material. It also emits a disproportionately high percentage of the greenhouse gases as it sits in landfill or wherever, it's really important to pull that out of the waste stream. The West Hartford pilot residents have had what Waste Zero shares is the highest participation rate in the nation. Somewhere in your agenda, it said 20%. I think the number is like 50%. We can double check that. But anyways, they've told us over and over that we have a really special social consciousness or something in this town. People have really adopted that with enthusiasm. Other people in town are already choosing to pay extra for Blue Earth to come and get their food scraps. And, Catherine has collected she has carefully kept all the emails, all the phone calls in a log, how many are positive, how many are negative from that pilot program. It's been about 90% positive. That's a huge consensus from a group that is just trying this model out. Lastly, and I'll take questions and discussion in a second. We're almost through this. Co-collection is another angle on this. It's where you throw the designated trash bag and the designated food scrap bag in the same bin. So in our green, I've seen some are black, but mostly our green trash barrels. It's easy to use for residents. We recommend that you look carefully at this. All of the pieces aren't ready to push that button tomorrow in terms of infrastructure, but it's sort of like a chicken and egg. It's just common sense that if there's interest in this this model, that the investment will flow. And we've done some, especially John Phillips has done some good work around that, around understanding exactly is quantum biopower or other players in the region, are they ready or interested in taking our material? And it seems the word on the street is this could happen. I just finish this with the fact that West Hartford can be a regional leader. I was at a symposium a couple weeks ago in Hartford with state leaders, leaders of Hartford. They referenced West Hartford specifically. I was kind of like, oh, they've noticed. They know we're doing the pilot. They're hoping we'll do the right thing. I know that within our state, West Hartford has a lot going for it, and people see us as a leader, and I'd like to put our best foot forward in that. Next slide, please. Oops. Thanks, Catherine. A few key dates that I want to call your attention to. We're having this lovely discussion right now on December 13th. January 1st is actually, DEEP has, with the 2016 Solid Waste Management Plan that was passed, they are expecting / hoping that municipalities will be diverting 60% of their recyclable material by January 1st, which is in 2 weeks, obviously. We're currently at 32%. And what that means is that 32% of what should be going in the blue plastic bin is actually going in the blue plastic bin. There are perfectly recyclable materials that are not even finding their way there. They're just going into the landfill or to the incinerator. we have a lot of quick work to do to try to meet that expectation from the state. January 23rd is the deadline for DEEP for a proposal for next steps with this pilot. And if that is not in place, then February 1st is when the pilot program will be taken away from excited residents, people who care about this. And so I hope that we'll demonstrate our commitment to this new, it's a generational change. It's a new way of thinking about waste, but you know, we will have all spring to, and this is where I really see our group adding a lot, is we are excited to embrace a public outreach campaign. We have amazing people on the Sustainability Commission and then these sub-working groups, people that aren't even commissioners that have come to every meeting and are excited and really wanting to do their part. At the same time, there will be internal program design between town council, staff, and Waste Zero. And we're hoping for a potential implementation target of this coming fall. I really think it can happen. It's not easy, but we have a lot going for us in this town. And I'm excited to do everything that we can to support your efforts to move towards that goal. Next slide.
Sorry.
No problem. There we go. I'll just end with this. These are some of the brief, we're just kind of getting this machinery up and running, but we envision meeting with each of you. We'd like to conduct a more in-depth town-wide survey where we can really hear and get a really fine-tuned read on residents' hopes, dreams, doubts, fears, current understanding, areas they'd like to see change. We plan to do that work. We could have coffee hours, Q&A sessions. We really want to embrace the media that we can utilize to have this public discussion. Public schools are so important. This is our children's planet anyway. And I feel really strongly about our duty to involve them and their voice and utilize their voice in this. And last slide. We can do this, everyone. I really, really think so. I'm so excited to have this opportunity at this important crossroads in how we think about our planet, how we think about each other as human family. I think we have all that we need to make this is not going to solve all the problems in the world, but this is going to be a meaningful step towards taking responsibility for our own waste and not pushing that responsibility onto others. And I know that the residents of West Hartford are ready for this. I was there at that meeting in 2016 in Town Hall. I had a little baby at the time, and I remember, but there's a lot going for us now that we didn't have back then. And I think this is the right time. And I thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer or entertain any comments or questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Excuse me. Thank you, Rachel and Catherine, for the assist there. Does anybody have any questions there? Rick, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Rachel, and to the entire commission for joining us this morning and your presentation. We appreciate your comments and the work to date. We have a lot to discuss as a committee as we move forward. And I think part of that, Mr. Chair, we will get into next with when we go through Mr. Phillips' report. We will talk a little bit about the successes that Rachel pointed out in our current program. There are certain targets, certain dates that we need to consider as we move forward. One of those would be ideally working with the state to bridge our current pilot program. And that during that time period, that would give us time to work as a committee, come up with a business plan on potentially moving forward town-wide with a pilot program, and then even some form of permanency going beyond that bigger pilot program. So As Rachel referred to, this work started, and I know we've talked about this with the committee back in 2016 initially. We've learned a lot since then. This program has helped, and we've learned a lot through our pilot program. Part of what we would need to do, and Rachel mentioned it in her presentation, is that education and outreach, which would take place over time. So it's not anything that we could commit to, like rolling this out for July 1st or something, but in terms of doing something on a permanent basis, but the pilot program would help us bridge us to a more robust outreach and communication program for the entire town, and get us in a position to be able to consider something like this permanently. And, when we rolled the Morley program out, the pilot program out, last year at this time when we were talking it through as a community, certainly we all heard from many of our residents, and we were ready to roll that pilot program out in the Morley district. So, through proper planning, proper education, this would be something that we think that the whole town would be ready for as well. So I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly if any of the committee members had any questions, we could entertain those now, but we would also be talking to this to some degree in John's report as well.
Thank you, Rick. And are there any other comments or questions from the committee? All right. Hearing none.
Barry,
I see Carol with her hand.
I have a quick question, and I don't know who it's going to be directed to, but I'm just curious. I know we're still in the pilot phase with the Morley district, but I'm curious to hear in terms of the evaluation process, in terms of the success rate of all of those who are participating in the pilot right now. I know in the report I did see or read that we don't have 100% participation. We have a high participation rate. Would anybody be able to just speak to that in terms of how could we get more people to participate, or what is some of the reservations why they are not?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we'll turn to Mr. Phillips, who can respond to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, John Phillips, Director of Public Works. Carol, those are great questions, and if you don't mind waiting, I do have the spot in the report that I'll give clarity for, and it should answer all of those questions for you.
I think she's in agreement, Mr. Phillips. All right. Were there any other questions? If not, we can go ahead and go on to those reports. And let's see who's up first. Looks like Director of Plant and Facility Services, Robert Palmer, is up first.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report will be fairly brief. Let me just pull it up real quick here. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. So our daily operations buildings are continuing to operate in a good and acceptable condition. No major problems have been encountered. As far as staffing, we continue to struggle a little bit with some part-time staffing turnover and trying to find replacements. We've been working with our HR department, and they've actually been able to post the positions a little bit differently. So that's been giving us some more applicants. So actually, I think we had about 30 applicants for some part-time positions, which is a very high number than what we've seen in the last few years. So we do have one full-time building maintainer position open. We've interviewed candidates. We are in the process of making an offer for one candidate, so we're looking to fill that very shortly. So that'll be good. We'll be back to full staffing. So the new Elmwood Community Center and Cultural Center. So we for those who aren't familiar, we did purchase the Mayflower site about 2 years ago now. So that's been used on a limited basis. The grounds have been used for a temporary dog park. The police and fire and emergency management have been utilizing the building for training purposes. We are in the process of the design process for demolishing that building. We hope to have that out to bid later in the winter and begin the demolition process in the spring. The design of the new facility, we had a architect RFQ process that closed in October. We had 11 firms respond. Town staff selected 6 firms to interview. We interviewed those last Thursday. We had really great presentations from those firms, from all 6 firms. We were very happy with the quality of those and how they paid attention to the work that we've already done with that. So we're going to ask, later this week, we'll ask 3 firms to submit proposals that will include pricing for the design of that facility. So moving on to capital projects. So we're still seeing issues in supply chain, labor shortages, pricing in the construction sector escalated significantly in the last few years with the economy. Those prices, it seems to have settled now, but the prices are set. They're not going down at all. So we're still seeing really higher costs for our projects and materials related. We're also seeing very long lead times, especially on larger items like electrical switchgear and HVAC equipment, generators, those types of things. We're talking a year, 2 years on some of those items. So it's really going to have an effect on how we time and schedule our projects. So town projects that we're currently working on, the animal control facility. So we recently in the last year had purchased the 705 Oakwood Ave location. We are taking the new design for the animal control facility and placing it on that site. So that's happening at the same time. We are also engaged in the process of beginning the demolition process of that structure. So those 2 things are at work right now. Public safety facilities assessments. So we hired Tecton to look at our public safety complex, which is the police and fire headquarters building, and also the 5 fire stations and a few other support facilities located down here on Brixton Street. So the site visits have been complete. They've produced a facilities condition report for all those facilities. We're currently reviewing that and providing feedback. The architect is meeting currently with police and fire staff to determine future needs in order to put together a comprehensive report. So we expect in the next few months we'll have that all wrapped up. So townwide generators. So we started a project a few years ago to put generators at our major town buildings, including Town Hall, the 2 high schools, and a few other buildings within town. The design is complete on that. Unfortunately, we're waiting for state grants in combination with federal grants to come. We had applied for a previous round. We did not receive them. There's a new round that starts in February, so we'll do that in February and hope that we'll get those grants. We're in the process of designing renovations for the town hall restrooms and also the main lobby. We'll look at renovations for that as well. Just change the flow as our security protocols in the last few years have changed. It would change the way that things would not change that much, but we would put in more of a central reception type desk versus the reception desk that's off to the side now. Also, the restrooms in the town hall were renovated in the 80s and are not completely ADA compliant. So we would look to do that and upgrade those facilities as well. Cornerstone Aquatic Center, we have air handler replacements. We have 1 in process right now, and there's another one that is in design. That will complete the replacement of all 4 of those units there. So on the Board of Ed side, for the fresh air projects at Duffy and Webster Hill, Duffy has been awarded. We anticipate starting construction in the spring. Webster Hill the design is complete. We're reviewing that. We plan to put that out to bid after we go through the state grant process. So both of those projects are in the state grant process. So we're going to wait on Webster Hill until we see where the grant sits with that. King Philip, we're replacing auditorium seating. It's a slow process so that we'll do small sections at a time so that they can continue to utilize the facility. For Sedgwick, we're doing restroom renovations. Those have been completed. We did 2 summers of the major restrooms in the older part of the building, so that has been completed. Security improvements at Duffy, those are substantially complete. That was really the last, not quite the last major one of the elementary schools. We still have to go to do Wolcott, but that one is pretty much done as well. We have ongoing playground improvements for Wolcott, Duffy, Webster Hill, Smith, and Aiken. We have planned roof replacements over the next 3 years at Brayburn Hall and Bugby. Kitchen serving line updates for Hall, Conard, and Sedgwick are in the works right now, all in design. Exterior door replacements at Hall, that's been bid and awarded. Restroom renovations at Hall, we're currently in design. We're doing flooring replacement this upcoming summer at Whiting Lane. And as I mentioned previously, we're working at Wolcott on the main office relocation for security purposes. So that will improve that entranceway there. So happy to take any questions from anybody at this time.
Thank you, Director Palmer. Do we have any questions for Mr. Palmer? Okay. I guess free and clear there, Robert. Thank you. And I apologize. I probably should have gone straight to Mr. Phillips. It would have made more sense, and I apologize for giving us a gap in between the subject matter. But with no questions for Mr. Palmer, we will go ahead to Director of Public Works, John Phillips, for his report.
Good morning. Again, through the chair, Director of Public Works, John Phillips, and Councilman Walters, don't worry, we'll bookend this meeting with talking trash from the beginning, and we'll finish it with talking trash. So well, the takeaways will be a trash meeting.
There we go.
First of all, I do want to give a lot of credit and kudos to the Waste Working Group. Everybody, I think, was an equal leader of the group and developing their messaging. And certainly Rachel deserves a lot of credit for really spearheading that group's mission. They did a lot of work quickly, and certainly they could prove to be a very valuable asset and a partnership with the town's municipal government and governance of waste management. Uploaded in the package, you see a full report of Public Works. Again, for more new members to the committee, yourself, Chair, Councilman Walters, Public Works is made up of 6 divisions. Streets, facilities. Streets, fleets, grounds, traffic safety, municipal parking, and obviously admin. The report tries to cover all of those aspects that we do, highlight our notables, and which are listed in the reports. Again, we're primarily a maintenance operation where we maintain the town's assets and infrastructure on a day-to-day basis. We're busy year round. It doesn't need the snow for Public Works to be busy. There isn't a slow month that we have in our 12 months of activities, but fall tends to be one of our most active seasons, if you would, ending of fiscal first quarter into the second quarter, primarily due to the transitioning from a very busy construction season and trying to overlap preparation for winter, getting our equipment ready, but still being very productive on the construction side. I'm sure if you drive around town, you see a lot of our workforce out there doing the jobs every single day in production mode. So the report certainly speaks for itself, and I'll hope I could take any questions on that at the end of this presentation. I do want to focus and draw attention to on the report, first page where it gets into the PAYT, which is pay to throw, the food scrap pilot, and kind of start reviewing that. Catherine Bruns has an update, a more formal update on the program, and she'll get into some details that we've learned, which hopefully answers Councilwoman Kara Blank's her questions. And so focusing on it right now, as far as measurement goes, the food waste piece we were seeing right now on average of about 46% participation rate. Again, that goes up and down above 50%, slightly below. But over the past 24 weeks, we settled in at 46% participation. We know that by feedback from the collector. He knows exactly how many homes he collects based on the participants. And we also know the success rate by the volume that is actually delivered to Quantum Biopower, which is a food to energy processing facility. It's an outstanding facility that's located here in the state of Connecticut that takes food waste, digests it, produces an energy, and produces a high quality compost on the back end. So it's 100% full circle recycling from food waste, and we're very fortunate. It's close proximity to West Hartford, and we have an excellent working relationship with the folks in leadership at Quantum Biopower. On the unit-based pricing piece, that's a little bit harder to judge because the pilot was designed to be more of a volunteer base, a challenge, if you would, to the participants to see if they can narrow their trash down to a single bag or a single two bag process per week from week to week collection. But by design, there was no real enforcement of that and really insistence on it. It was more through education and challenging the residents to see if they can fit in that space. And so that's been a little bit harder to judge. So we had to go off just pure visuals of what gets tipped to the floor, how much orange is in the trash load that comes out of this neighborhood versus what not orange, or physical looking into, driving down the street and seeing inspections. But we do know from our haul of the trash side that during this pilot program, because we think the success of the food waste program, residents have had the opportunity to choose not even put out their trash on a weekly basis because the bios, the smells, the odors that make up trash aren't there. And so they only have a single bag in there. And so we've seen a higher uptake than normal neighborhoods where people don't even put their trash out on a week-to-week basis. Again, that's just anecdotal, not really scientifically measured, but we do know those are facts of the program. And again, Catherine Bruns will be able to touch more on her project, the pilot update. And so that's really it, just to get clarity on those 2 percentage points. And hopefully I've started to answer the question that Councilwoman Blanks has asked. And so I will turn it over now at this time to Catherine Bruns, who is the town's recycling coordinator, and really through this whole entire process very recently, last couple of years, spearheading food waste diversion at our schools, as well as many other activities, so increasing our ability to educate our community and provide information to the community. She's been a real partner with me and the other town staff to make that happen. So I'll turn it over to Catherine Bruns now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Catherine Bruns, Recycling Coordinator. Welcome, Mr. Walters, Chair of this commission. I'm excited to share what I've been doing with the town, especially with regard to this food scrap pilot. So I'm going to jump right in and share, get to my screen now. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
There we go.
Okay. Go to the beginning. So, yes, so as Rachel, I don't want to duplicate what Rachel said, but we really are in a waste crisis in Connecticut. In 2017, when we first tried to do this pilot, we were shipping about 17% of our waste out of state. And today, now with the closing of Mira, we are shipping about 40% of our waste out of state. So I just want to start really quickly. I show this at all my presentations. Well, our relationship with trash, especially because West Hartford does such a great job of collecting as it is we just think about when is trash day. We think it's a Monday, put it at the curb, it goes. Our public works department does a great job. But we don't really think about the supply chain. And so we think about the supply chain, but not very much about the removal chain. Where does it go? What can I separate? How can I do this better? So that's our job and our mission, especially with the Waste Working Group, is to think about this removal chain. Move on to the next one. So here's a map, and I can share later with the town council a really great food waste story map that MVCOG put out last fall that tells the whole story of the waste crisis in Connecticut. But our trash is going, as you can see, as far away as Ohio and Pennsylvania and Virginia. Last year, it was about 800,000 tons, and this is wrong on an economic and an equity issue and on so many levels. And we can do better to address this. We throw away a lot more trash than we did, twice as much today than we did in the 1960s. We have a single-use culture. There's just more trash, which is not sustainable. You can see here, we do a lot of purchasing, and everything when we're at the end of its life needs to go somewhere, but it doesn't need to all go into trash. which leads me to the pilot program, which I'm excited to talk about. So we did the pilot. We were one of 18 municipalities to receive a grant for the DEP to do a pilot that combined unit-based pricing, treating trash like a utility, with food scrap collection. Very exciting that West Hartford won one of these grants. And so it was about 685 households in the Morley School District. Each household in the pilot got 2 orange bags and 1 green bag per week for the duration of the 9-month pilot. I have here 51% participation rate. It's varied between 49 to 51%. For the food scrap collection, again, the pilot program was harder. The unit-based pricing was harder to monitor because it wasn't mandatory. We've averaged about 1.3 tons per week of food scraps collected, which is pretty impressive for a total of about 43 tons at 33 weeks. And we've had a lot of great feedback. Like Rachel said, I've collected the quotes from people. One is that my trash is less stinky. Other people have said, I'm paying a lot more attention to what I recycle. Or one person said, I hadn't realized you could freeze bread. There's a lot of ways we can manage our food better in our refrigerator. So there's a lot of awareness that comes when you separate out your food scraps and you try to recycle more. It's proven that when you do unit-based pricing, recycling rates increase. I can't believe how much food we were wasting. We really like the program. So I have a lot of quotes. If you want to, I can share them with you. So let me just share. So we, as part of the pilot, we did 3 waste audits with Waste Zero. We dug right into the trash. The first day of our waste audit was actually in the pilot neighborhood. Tori from Waste Zero carefully, when they collected a sample, they indicated whether they had the green pail out, which meant that they were, we think, participating, hopefully also in the unit-based pricing portion of the pilot. And so with the pail out, you can see here the average about 19 pounds of trash per person per week, and the non-pail families or households had about 38 pounds of trash per week, which proves that you can really slash the trash in half if you do a combination of a unit-based pricing and food scrap collection. On the left is an example of a household that wasn't participating. And you can see 2 pumpkins in there. You can see pizza boxes, and these are holiday lights here. And those all have other places to go. They do not need to be in the trash if you are incentivized to take them out. We had a very successful pumpkin drop-off. It was triple the amount of last year. And you can recycle pizza boxes, and I've tried to show that you can recycle holiday lights as well. On the right is a picture that caught all of us. Was one entire bag. Someone had thrown away an entire nursery worth of very clean clothes, toys. There was no food scraps around it. It was very clean, so I actually collected it and took it to Goodwill. But these are the sort of things that you can be incentivized to take out of your trash if you're paying attention to what you throw away. On day 2 was a non-pilot household. And this was all in one person's trash. If you're incentivized, you might freeze some of that material, you might donate it, you could certainly empty out the jars and recycle them. There's a lot you can do with this other than have us pay for it to be hauled as trash. And 13% was donatable material as well, things that could have gone to Goodwill. And on the right, somebody cleaned out an office, obviously. And that's all. We have a paper shredding event twice a year. Our town is amazing with the services that we offer. If you take advantage of them, that can help you meet that, say, 2-bag. We can determine this as we go along, but 2-bag a week goal for reducing trash. On day 3, it was also a non-pilot area. And you can see over here was actually household hazardous waste. There were 2. This is a fertilizer for your yard and one other material. And there was also a coffee maker, which goes in our e-waste. Here's our wonderful Waste Zero workers who just done an amazing job helping us get a read on what we've collected. So I'll just finish up with one last slide. Again, this waste crisis is not going away. We have no more landfills left in Connecticut, as Rachel said. We have 4 incinerators. Our current tip fees, which is the amount it costs to dump 1 ton of trash, is $97 a ton for trash and $61 a ton for food scraps. In 2024, it's going to go up by 10 to 20%, which is somewhere within this range here of $115 to $120 a ton to tip. But the food scraps are projected to stay the same. So that means right now it costs 59% more to throw away food scraps other than to recycle or compost them. And that's going to go up to 88% more next year. So just economically, it just makes a lot of sense. And I think that our pilot has proven that there's great enthusiasm for this program. It's not without its hiccups, but no system is perfect. I'll stop this now. No system is perfect, but we're really excited by the results of this pilot and the enthusiasm we've had. I can't tell you how many people have said, when is it coming to my neighborhood? And the food scraps, I would argue, is sort of the sexy part. It brings people on board. But when combined with unit-based pricing, it really works together because you give people a place to put 24%. In one case, yesterday's pilot, 38% of what was in the trash was food scraps. And if you give people that option to put it somewhere else, it is less expensive to tip the food scraps than it is for trash. So I can take any questions, but that's my update on the pilot.
Again, thank you, Captain, very much. I appreciate that and helping me with the Public Works report. I want to circle back to Councilwoman Blanks. Did that answer your questions as far as quantifying some of the results?
It absolutely did. And thank you to both of you, Catherine and to John. That really explained it quite nicely, and the visuals helped as well.
Good. I'm glad we met your expectations there. So again, in the spirit of time, we comprehensive, we talked a lot about trash and certainly touch base on our facilities. So I'm happy to take any questions based on the report that is uploaded, the subject matter that we've been talking about for the last hour. And again, through the chair area, if there's things that you want to see in next month's public report, please just let me know and I can modify the report based on what your interests are for this committee and my reporting.
Thank you, John. We will certainly talk and chat about going forward. Did anybody have any questions for John? The quiet group this morning. All right. With no questions, it is something that trash being the it, something that we obviously do need to discuss more in length. And I believe that there are some steps to take and some deadlines that obviously were presented. Rick, what next steps are we looking at here?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just want to thank members of the West Hartford Sustainable Commission, the Waste Working Group. I know we have representatives from Waste Zero here and CT Deep as well who've been watching and listening, and I know this was a lot for everybody. So I appreciate everybody's patience and willingness to listen this morning. That was what we wanted to accomplish. And then from here, what we will do, Mr. Chair, is we will add this item as a kind of a separate item on future agendas as we move forward. So in January, we will add this as a line item for the director and myself to share more progress and more of a timeline in terms of things that we will want to accomplish over the next several months as we continue to find solutions for our waste management issue, some of those solutions you heard from everyone who spoke this morning. So I know it was a lot, but I appreciate your willingness to listen, and I know you're as committed as we are as to find a solution And we will, together we will. So we will add this onto our next agenda for January, and we'll have yet again some more information and timelines at that point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. And I echo, thank you to the committee, the commission for all of the hard work that they are putting, not have put, but are putting into this. And it is not, I mean, we've been in crisis mode probably for decades. You know, I've told a few people that I can remember in the 70s. I still have very vivid pictures of video talking about the crisis in trash and in climate and such. So it didn't go away as I think people thought, and it's not going to go away. So looking forward to learning more and working with everyone to find the solution that best fits for West Hartford. And I think that we will get there. Let's see. Going back to the agenda, I know that we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour. I wanted to, all right. So future agenda items, I think we just covered that with putting various topics regarding recycling trash and food scraps onto the January agenda. And we will discuss what that looks like. And, you know, if there's no more questions, again, I thank everybody. And Catherine Deviney, I see a hand.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm Catherine Deviney, the Energy Specialist for the town of West Hartford and also staff liaison to the Sustainable West Hartford Commission. So I just wanted to mention that, in my opinion, putting this on the next commission meeting as a standing agenda item pushes it out a month and doesn't necessarily fit with the timeline that Rachel mapped out. So I would urge this committee to think long and hard about whether there's anything we can do in the interim to meet some of these program deadlines and push this initiative forward. Because the next committee meeting is an entire month away. Thank you for listening.
No, thank you, Catherine. And I do believe that there will be some discussion. Mr. Ledwith, would you be able to add on to that? Because I know that we have briefly discussed and without too much detail.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And to address Ms. Deviney's a question or statement. Yeah, there are some timelines that administratively we will adhere to, so it doesn't require council action. That's something that Director Phillips and I will be working on over the next couple of days. So to address that particular issue, and we will bring that and other information forward to the January meeting. So so I think that addresses Catherine's statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, and I know that there is some communication that's required with the state, and that will take place between Rick and Director Phillips regarding the pilot program. Thank you, Catherine. Is there anything else that any other questions? Again, a quiet group. Just such a thorough presentation that there are no questions that needed to be asked. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out today, this morning. I think I'm still awake from last night. I appreciate all of your input and help. And, oh, Rick Bush, thank you. You're on mute, Rick.
Rick, are you trying to say that Chris Nelson is raising his hand?
Oh, thank you. And I do see that now, Chris. Chris, we're not able to hear you. It shows you're not on mute, but we cannot hear you. It
I
might
wonder
be
if you
your
can take off
headset.
your headphones, Chris.
No.
No.
You use the chat
Okay.
option for his question?
Yeah.
I think we could hear you now.
Can you?
Oh, there you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to clarify, I'm here today wearing a few hats. One of the hats is I work at Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, and my group is involved with issuing the grant funding that West Hartford received and other towns have received. Regarding bridge funding, what we're going to be looking for, and has to be something the town puts together, we're looking for a bridge to somewhere. Other bridges that we've looked at, our towns are committing to having a permanent program in place by date X. And we talk about, okay, what can we fund to bridge the gap between now and that date of the start date of a new program? So if there is going to be consideration of bridge funding for West Hartford, it's going to have to be a bridge to an actual place, a new program with a start date, as opposed to kind of a nebulous idea. So I'm throwing it out there as folks consider what West Hartford wants to propose. Um, you know, I'm just letting you know from our end of deep, we're going to be looking for, an actual details of an actual program with a start date, and then we can talk about, what we can potentially fund to help you get to that starting point.
Thank you, Chris.
And that's why there's some of the time crunch, because the program ends February 1st. We need some lead time to get going on, working on a grant contract amendment and making sure money's potentially in place to help West Hartford bridge that gap between now and a permanent program start.
Understood, Chris, and thank you for that. And I know that without a lot of details that still need to be filled in. I know that has been under discussion, or at least started, and the awareness is there that there is a pretty brief window that we have to act within. So we will do what we can as quickly as we can through town manager and Director Phillips's office. And Catherine Bruns, you have a question.
Yes, so I might add that under our current pilot grant money, we do have access to the wonderful resources of Waste Zero, and they are a terrific, Kristen Brown, who's here on the call, and Tori McBrien as well. They are a font of knowledge. They have done this so many times, and they are available to each and every one of you if you want to call them or video chat with them, meet with them in person. And I really encourage you to do so, because they've got the numbers for you to help support as we reach out into the community. So they're here for us. It's part of our grant, and I think we should make use of it, as the Waste Working Group made great use of this resource that we got with this pilot program grant. And I'm so appreciative for all of the advice and leadership we've had from Kristen and Tori, who are here on this call. They've been invaluable.
Great, thank you. And let's see. Thought I saw another question, but maybe
Ethan, he has a question.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ethan Van Ness. I'm Commissioner Dykes' new senior advisor for intergovernmental affairs. So I'm particularly working on municipal affairs and federal affairs. So I'm here if you need anything at all, helping support Chris's team and the office in general. I'll put my contact information in the chat, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say hello and to introduce myself.
Okay. Thank you, and hello, Ethan. And Catherine, did I see your hand?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to also make sure that any counselor on this call was aware that you have an open invitation to attend any Sustainable West Hartford Commission meeting and any of our working group meetings. You know, we have this waste working group, we also have a land care working group, and we have an energy working group. So even within the next month, if you're free and you would like to attend any of those meetings, please reach out to Catherine or myself, and you guys are always welcome. Thanks.
Can I piggyback on that as well? As the mayor has kindly come and seen what we've done in our elementary schools with the food scrap collection. So we're doing it in our schools already, and we're looking to bring it home to the residents. And it's eye-opening to see it in the schools. So please contact me if you want to see it in action in the schools.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel?
Just quickly jump on and invite people specifically to our next Monday night. The entire Sustainable West Hartford Commission will be meeting, and a large focus of that meeting will be orienting and getting this public outreach effort organized and oriented. And we really, really want your collaboration on this. We want to support you, and we want to work as partners with you as town councilors as we go public with this. We want to do a really successful, thoughtful partnership with everybody in the community. We really are committed to making this work. We're not going to please 100%, but I think we can have a meaningful discussion. And so that the real work is beginning this coming Monday at the Sustainability Commission. And then, we'll be off for the next week for the holidays or two. So a lot of momentum there. We'd love to have you.
All right, thank you. So we will be wrapping this up at the 9:07 time frame here. Our next meeting is, according to my calendar, January 4th at 6 p.m. is the time I have recorded here on my calendar. And we will hopefully have a lot more information by then. And if anybody has any questions, I appreciate everybody's offering of invitations and meetings, and that's great. I hope we all take advantage of it. And without further ado, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. All right. We will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.